Welcome back to the Citystead. I'm Josh. Today I am going to show you how I'm going to make a new home for my brand new livestock. Now if you're not familiar with our brand new livestock, then you need to go check out the video, which is right there. It'll tell you what we got. Of course, I'm going to tell you in a minute. So if you just want to stick around, you're going to find out. I had to build a new home for the brand new livestock that we got, and we got a bunch of worms. All right, so what we're doing today is building a little worm farm. I am going to do a 3-tote system. I believe I saw this on Epic Gardening the very first time, and you see I got myself 3. They're just plastic totes you can get at Walmart, you know, any department store, any hardware store basically. I got 1 lid, and that's all we're gonna need for what we're doing, the way we're gonna set this system up. So a few of the other things we're gonna need to build this worm farm is gonna be a drill with a 1/4-inch drill bit, which we already got. We're set there. We're gonna need a little bit of grit for our worms. I got a little bit of sand right there in that cup. We're gonna need a little bit of composting material. I got some leaves here, we're gonna use that. I also got a little bit of these food scraps that I've been keeping around since I ordered these guys and I knew they were coming. We're gonna need some dirt because, you know, we don't want them to start with soil. We want them to make that dirt into something beautiful for us. So we're gonna start with just regular old plain dirt. I already dug some out of the ground, and I got a bucket down here full of just plain old Citystead dirt. Oh, and of course we're gonna need some worms. Yeah, there we go. We got our whole little bag of worms here. These guys are super excited to be here at the Citystead. They say, hello everyone, hello. So I got these worms from Green Greg's. He actually has a YouTube channel where he talks a lot about worms. He actually put out a video, I think it was recent, that was, you know, how to make a side income with a worm farm. So really good information. Greg is an awesome guy, just really cool dude, and he sent this awesome written instructions with the worms of how to do it, kind of his backstory on how he got into it, and then it shows you a lot of care for the worms, what you're doing. It kind of tells you how to set it up. So if you're a brand new newbie like me, Greg is a great resource, and he also has some of the best priced worms that I've seen in all the times I was looking everywhere. And these are red wigglers, guys. Probably can't see them very well, but they're in there. They're red wigglers. These are probably the best worms for worm farms that there are. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I'm gonna make this into my little worm farm right now. Let's get into it. All right, so the very first step to this worm farm we're building here is that we're gonna need 3 totes, and they're gonna be identical because you don't want your totes to be all different. They got a stack, right? So you can see we actually have 3 totes. So there we have our 3 totes. We've got 1 lid. All you're gonna need is 1 lid. So, you know, when you go to buy it, buy all 3, put the other 2 aside. You never know, maybe you'll need them eventually. So we'll set that aside for now. What we're gonna need is 2 of these bad boys. And I'm gonna put these together like this. What we wanna do is drill holes in the bottom of it. That's what our 1/4-inch drill bit is for. On these ones, we're drilling holes in the bottom so that the worms can actually go back and forth. This is going to be a flow-through type of bin system. So, I'm going to drill some holes so we can get that going. That was a ton of holes. I'm glad I put it together like that because it made it a lot easier than trying to do both of them, you know, at separate times. So what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to clean this up a little bit because I don't want any of those plastic chunks to fall off, break off, get in here at all. The worms can't really deal with those very well. So I'm just going to clean it real quick and I'll come back to you. Alright, so when I said I got to clean these holes up, I'll show you, you see how nice and smooth they are now. No burrs or anything. I actually just took some 60 grit sandpaper. I just rubbed it up against the side here. Gets anything off of there. Knocks all the big stuff off. I did the same on the inside. If you have an actual burr tool, You can just put it in there, run it around there, and it'll cut all that edge off, and it'll be perfect shape. You don't want to have rough holes because the worms got to go through it, right? And they don't want to eat that plastic. It's not really good for them. So I did that. I made sure my holes were clean from the 2 that have holes on the bottom. I still have to drill air holes now across the top, and we're going to do the exact same thing with those. We're going to drill the holes and we're going to clean them up, and yeah, I'm going to do that real quick. I'm probably going to take these back into the garage because it's a little easier to do it in there than out here. I don't want to get the plastic in my greenhouse either, you know. Alright, so as you can see, I got some air holes around the side now, on both sides there. I didn't do the ends here. I might go back and do that later. We don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But right now I'm going to show you how the 3-tote system is going to work, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to put inside of it. Alright, so we have 2 totes here with our air holes and our holes at the bottom, so the worms can go up and down. It's a flow system. We're going to allow them to go between these 2 bins only. The 3rd bin, we don't put holes in the bottom of it. Alright, so we took our 2 totes that we drilled all our holes in. I put a little bit of dirt in the bottom of this one so that I can make sure this one stays above air holes. That's where the worms are going to be able to breathe, get the air. We're going to put a lid on it, and I'm not going to drill any holes in the lid, just this top here. So which also means we're going to keep our soil down below that because we don't want them crawling through those holes and leaving us. You can see the 3rd tote here. I have no holes in the bottom, no holes in the side. This one is actually going to be the catch-all type of bin. The way that Epic Gardening did it was he put a plunger in it to be able to drain all the juices out of it, the compost tea, worm tea, but I'm going to do something a little bit different. See, I actually kind of meshing a bunch of ideas together. One of them would be Nature's Always Right, Steven over there. He did a really cool system. Actually, it's now in the hands of one of my good YouTube friends, Natalie over at Hey It's a Good Life. So I get to see a lot more about it, hear a little bit more, and I get to like direct inside knowledge about it because I actually know Natalie a little bit. So I got the scoop on it better now. So I'm going to build something like that. So I haven't done anything to this bottom tote yet. For now, I'm just going to set these guys in it and leave it how it is. I will go back and modify this to make it work how I want, but I'm going to set up a whole system. So I want to make sure I get everything I need with the parts and all that working before I do that. So we'll do another video on how I'm going to do my drain system on it a little bit later. But we got this, got a little bit of dirt in here. There's nothing in this one. So our first layer that we're going to put in here is just going to be dirt. So now that we have a good layer of dirt at the bottom of it, I'm going to take some leaves. I'm just going to kind of put them over the whole thing, like so. I'm going to take a little bit of that sand, or our grit, and I'm going to sprinkle it in a little bit over here, like so. The next step would be a little more dirt on top of that. Kind of cover those leaves. Just going to do a tiny bit more of leaves. Some more sand. Now I'm doing this kind of lasagna style, kind of how Natalie did it in her video, which I'll link down below for you if you're interested. And then some more dirt on top of it. So now that we did all that, it's time to introduce the stars of the show to their brand new home. So we're going to open up our little sack here of worms. And there we go. The worms are now in their home. I'm going to put another thin layer of dirt over top of them and let them kind of mix around in there. Then I'm going to throw some food on top of it so they can start eating and doing their thing. Now, they're probably going to take a little while to get used to their new home. Probably be a day or so, but I suspect that they'll really enjoy it. So now the worms are in here. They're going to start getting used to it, just moving around. I see some really good sized worms in here. I mean, just tons and tons of worms. So really excited about this. This is a huge step in building some really nice soil around our Citystead and just kind of building ourselves into more avenues we could possibly go down for revenue in the future. And I mean, it's just good to have to build up the garden that we have, because we want to grow a lot of food. So always going to need compost, and always going to need that compost tea, that magical worm casting type stuff to really make our garden the most successful that it can be. All right, well, I got some banana peels here that I'm going to rip up, kind of small chunks, a little bit easier to break down for the worms than like a whole giant peel of banana. And I'm not going to cover the whole top with this. I'm just going to put enough in here that there's some food for them for when they do get hungry, because like I said, brand new, it's probably going to take them a little bit before they get used to their surroundings, before they're coming up and starting to really get into eating all this food I'm going to put in here. And then the other thing I got is some eggshells. I got some more in the house I gotta go grab, but I'm gonna crush these up a little bit, kind of like a grit, kind of like the sand. We put the sand in there to be grit, but if I crush up these shells, they'll also be grits. These are a little bit like chickens. They have like gizzards, right? So you gotta have something in there that they can crush up, a little grit to help them digest their food, which is all this stuff. So I'm gonna crumble up these eggshells, and then I'm gonna do another batch that I'm gonna do even smaller, so that there's different size grit for all the different size worms that are in here, because there are some tiny worms, there are some more established worms. It's just a good mix of worms in here. The very last thing I'm going to put in here is I'm going to rip a few pages out of this Fedco seed catalog, and I'm going to shred them up a little bit, and I'm going to put this stuff in here too. Now we don't want big pieces, we want little pieces, so I'm going to try to shred it pretty small. Something they'll be able to digest down, eat. All right, so now that I got these guys in here, I got a little food on top. Got a little bit of that shredded paper on there. I'm gonna just put some water on there. The paper is also gonna help retain some moisture in here. I wanna make sure that they stay a little bit wet. You don't want them like drowned in, which is silly to say because worms always come out when it's super wet outside, but you don't wanna drown them. You don't wanna give them too much water, but like just enough. And the other thing we're gonna do is move these guys into the garage for now. I would love to keep them in the greenhouse because this is the office. This is where most of the work, and this is just the heart of everything that happens here, but they're just not going to do well in the heat of this greenhouse when it's 90 degrees in here. So they're going to go in the garage for now until I build the new permanent structure for them. They might stay in the garage, it depends, or they might have two different areas, one for the winter in the garage and then one out in the shade underneath a couple trees for the summer. So I'm going to work on that next. Well, that's it from me and the horde. We'll leave you guys as we get to work. I'm building some great soil here at the Citystead. So remember guys, be bold, grow bold, and we'll see you in that very next video.